there. My name is Logan Keene, and I want to tell you a love story and show you how one is done today. The beginning of our story takes place in 1883 with the birth of Alfredo Galileo, and as his name suggests, he was the inventor of Alfredo sauce, although it wasn't a birthright kind of thing. It was not until 1908 that, during his wife's pregnancy of their first son, Alfredo would stumble upon his namesake invention, the Alfredo sauce, and introduce it to his wife's favorite form of noodles, fettuccine. What's important to acknowledge about Galileo's wife, Ines, was that the birth of their first child was very hard on her. She could hardly keep solid food down, and she found herself weak most of the time during this pregnancy. In fact, it was the need for a food for Ines to digest and be able to keep down that Alfredo Galileo got to work on fettuccine Alfredo long before it was relevant to any restaurant he would sell it in, as evidenced by the fact that the first restaurant that he owned and inherited from his family closed down while he was working on this and while his wife was pregnant with their firstborn child. In proving that love is the mother of all invention, at least good ones, Luca Cesari's article, The Invention of Fettuccine Alfredo, says, to quote, he personally prepared some fettuccine using a semolina dough and mixed it with very fresh butter and Parmesan cheese. Then he said a prayer to Saint Anne, patron saint of new mothers, and served it to Ines, saying, if it's not to your taste, I'll eat it. The arc of history dictated that this was very much so to Ines's taste, as well as the taste of many Americans in search of Italian cuisine, whether it was brought to the Americas or whether they were traveling to Rome, where Alfredo Galileo lived, to taste it. In 1914, Alfredo officially debuted his namesake culinary invention in his restaurant in Rome, securing that throughout the rest of the 20th century, and as we see today in the 21st century, that this simple but effective meal was going to be enduring throughout the arc of history. It was something cheap to make, it was something that tasted good, and it was something that can be embraced by other members of other cultures from around the world as easily as they can consume it, they can make it. Broadly speaking, using food to communicate love while it transcends national boundaries is very reminiscent of Jhumpa Lahiri's interpreter of Maladies' short story, Mrs. Sens, in which this is a constant undercurrent of the entire work, food being utilized as a form of communication to surface-level themes of love, as well as deeper themes of connection to home, and expressing that to other people who, without eating this food, would have no connection to the home of the chef who makes it, like Mrs. Sen and Elliot. Just like the dish we're talking about, Mrs. Sens and the origin story of Fettuccine Alfredo are very touching and moving stories. But so what? Why is that important today? Well, I can show you pretty directly why that is. As the LitHub article that I cite illuminates more of the history of Fettuccine Alfredo, it's important to acknowledge that the versatility of Alfredo's sauce, case in point, is one of the main selling features of it historically, over the past 130 years or so. An attribute of Fettuccine Alfredo's immediate and enduring popularity is the adaptability of Alfredo sauce. Case in point. But with like a lot of Americanized foods, specifically Italian dishes, pizza, adaptation is as American as apple pie. And so, the introduction of heavy cream was a standard of cooking fettuccine Alfredo as it was introduced to the Americas, as the LitHub article that I dug up for this piece cites and suggests. Now, there is a bit of difference here between, of course, pouring in a mixture of Alfredo sauce that we come up with ourselves, and using a jarred form with heavy cream that comes in a carton. But this adds to that layer of American adaptation. As many culinary delights in America, not all of them, but a lot of good ones, are based on box components, carton components, and the blending of these materials together to make a decent meal. Our water is boiling. Our water is steaming. And by this point, if you've been following along at home, you have your cheese sauce in a dedicated pan ready to go at any time. So we're going to bring this fettuccine to boil, and we're going to give that 11 minutes. A little bit less than what it says on the packaging. That way you can check for doneness to whatever degree that you like. You don't have to do anything special. You can walk by. I told my professor this is gonna be like, this is gonna be very like guerrilla filmmaker-esque, like I'm damn near breaking into my friend's home to do this. At this point, we're gonna put our Alfredo sauce on simmer, get it a little nice and warm as we prepare to introduce butter and other seasonings into it to release those flavors fully. While we're talking about this, our pasta has been boiling for a few minutes, and because we're cooking for multiple people, we are gonna need a lot. So, here it is. Right now the timer is at 6:41. After that, not a lot else to do but introduce the two parts of matrimony. And salad, but it's in the fridge. It's like the weird cousin who lives in the garage. Now that we're done boiling our pasta, we can drain it. Probably should put the drainer there first. With this empty vessel and this cheesy pile of goop, a successful marriage is shown. Now we're gonna cover it up, let things boil over a bit, and let it congeal. I hear distant gurgling, minutes from when I set it to congeal. And by now, you should too. Again, if you're following at home. I hope you like gunmetal as a color. And here we are, unstirred. Let me give it some life. Good use of space right there. Here we are. Nice and thick. And if you don't like it as thick, less butter, less Alfredo, and add in some of the pasta water if you can find a way to save it. I typically do not do the same because I like the thick sauce. And hopefully you will as well. Yeah, it's not quite a Dutch angle. All right. I'll probably take the sound out or something. No. Or not. It'd be really funny.
Or simply no.
Wouldn't that be cool, Professor Roulette, if I did not take the sound out of this one?
The sticker.
I don't want to be the first one to see
that.
Yeah, I thought
that
was
was
odd.
You're the one who made it.
You're the chef.
Yeah.
Why should I do it? What if I poisoned it?
Then
I guess I've sealed my own fate.
I feel like you made the food. Might as well scoop.
You're so right, Mason. What would I do without you? What's like I don't know what a good serving is for how much I made.
I'd eat that whole
I'm
pie
not
if you gave me
taking
the
leftovers.
chance. So.
I mean, yeah. That is the appeal of fettuccine Alfredo. I don't know who I was talking to in that class, but I said that it was like fancy grilled cheese.
Fancy grilled.
Ooh. Cheese Louise.
Get
a baconator.
It's like such a different flavor.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, it's low effort, cheap to make, and is like a staple of loving households. So use me.
Interesting.
I mean, what, are you gonna tell me I'm wrong?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I respect you. If my phone had not ran out of storage space, you would have seen personally the delicious meal in good time had by all. What I do have are iMessage written accounts of those in attendance of the meal. My friend Ari says, sorry for the late Yelp review. Pasta, 10 out of 10. Sauce, 9 out of 10. Could have been cheesier because I love cheese. Plating, 1,000 out of 10. Wonderful job of adding a side salad and wine with pasta. La wine, 8 out of 10. Not my fave, but was a nice pairing for the pasta. Overall, 9.8 out of 10. Was so fun just having dinner all together and watching Paul. For context, we watched the movie Paul, where Seth Rogen voices a wacky alien. It's a perfect group watch. My friend Mason says, fettuccine Alfredo has always been something I've enjoyed. Deciding to add 2 whole bottles of sauce was a choice. A good choice. I agree, Mason. Preface to this next one, Emily, instead of doing a written review, opted for a live one, which worked because I had to harass my friend and her boyfriend Nico for his written review. Enjoy. So because they didn't give me written reviews, you want to write yours out instead of get it live on video?
Mine is gonna be, I want you to read it. It's gonna be elaborate.
It's gonna be elaborate. Well, okay.
Well, I don't know. Elaborate to me, so like a solid paragraph.
Hey, a solid paragraph to you, Dune reader that you are. It's a solid chunk.
I'll write you something.
You'll write me something. Emily, do you want to just do yours right now live?
Sure. I will. I'll do mine live.
What did you think of the pasta, Emily?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought for being gluten-free pasta, the noodles were really good, because I know sometimes they can be kind of funky with gluten-free pasta. I thought that was pretty good. I thought I could use a little less sauce.
A little less sauce.
I did think it was really tasty.
Do you think that the cheese, based off of Ari's input, do you think that the cheese to, like, sauce ratio, in terms of, like, sauce consistency to cheese flavoring was off?
No, I thought that was good. I thought it tasted really good. I just would prefer a little less sauce.
Alright. Well, I'll take your feedback handily. And finally, to conclude my own piece, acting as testament and as commentary on the nature of love expressed via culinary cuisine, we have my friend Nico's review, a similar testament of his own. Fettuccine, a noodle. You typically mix it with a molten Parmesan cheese mixture. Most people would say, bruh, that's just mac and cheese, you goon, and you would be correct in saying that. Fettuccine Alfredo is basically just Italian mac. Unfortunately, I have always been in opposition to this devilish form of mac. I was told it would be absolutely unequivocally bussing, and that I would take back all my anti-Alfredo propaganda I spew into the world. Logan tried his absolute hardest to sway me into liking this meal, even coming to my home to effectively host a dinner with guests. Everyone else said it was absolutely scrumptious, but I was sadly disappointed to taste that same Parmesan cheese flavor that I am not a fan of. In short, Fettuccine Alfredo is just overly fancy mac, and the flavor of the Parmesan cheese just ain't my thing, but I could see how another person would like it. Thank you very much, Nico. And thank you very much everyone at home, and everyone who stumbles upon this video in some capacity or another. And thank you very much, Professor Willett, for giving me the platform to do something like this. Thank you also, Jhumpa Lahiri, for writing such beautiful works, especially Mrs. Sens. Please read that if you haven't. And most of all, thank you, Alfredo de Leleo. You rule, man. Have a good night, everybody.